Welcome to the BANGover Podcast. I'm Scott Allen. This is Chris Myers. Today's episode is Rage Against the Machine. Self-titled?
Self-titled.
Rage Against the
Debut
Machine.
album.
Rage. All right, let's do it. Kick it. Should just left it with the snare snap. You can fix that in post, right?
No.
Okay. Third episode with our equipment, our instruments. I play drums. Chris, guitar player.
Guitar.
Yeah, we've been doing this. I don't even want to say how many years I've been playing drums because if I told someone,
how many years in total we've been doing this whole
years
instrument playing?
Probably not. Yes, I started playing like 16 years ago, but taking it serious and doing
Once
it
you
every
pass
day.
a certain point, you just like, I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
You can put a number to it, but it's a long time.
Well, growing up, we always thought Chris here was the greatest guitar player because
Not true.
he would come in and just like play Rage Against the Machine songs, like knew the solos, knew all the parts almost, and we were just like, damn.
Well, we'll get into
And
it.
it's kind of it's not that hard, but that's what makes it so groovy. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't be complicated. So
I mean, we'll get into
Yeah.
it, but a lot of it is, and I brought the whammy pedal. Because of Tom Moreo, he kind of was an influence. Like, brought the whammy here. That's the only way to do some of these songs.
Yeah.
And it also is like kind of the mystique around the band. Musicians and magicians have a lot in common, right? Like, musicians go to the Magic Castle, and there's always magicians and music, and there's like a tie-in. And I think more than just like the creative aspect, I think there's a veil. You know what I mean? There's always somebody behind the curtain when it comes to music, and sometimes it's like sounds, or sometimes.
So you're saying like music is very magical, like in a way where it's like he's kind of like creating these spells or concoctions to like come up with like a formula to just, I don't know, set a sound like
that's one.
Yeah,
That's one way, and I think this would probably be like a spell, right? But it's also like that. Like, he's using these tools, which are guitar pedals or whatever, in certain songs, and he's adding a sound and a thing where you're like, whoa, I've never heard that kind of thing before. And he does do these like frills and, like
he'll pull the guitar chord out and just fucking.
or not that he does like do like crazy like runs on the guitar, like he'll do like fast little stuff because he's like trained, he's guitar taught, but also a lot of his stuff is that it's like sounds. It's on the album, it actually says like all the sounds on this album were no synthesizers or whatever like electronic equipment was used on this album, because they take pride in like
Figuring it out on their own,
or
with
just
their
all the
instrument.
DJ scratching and all that. That's like
Figuring
him
out
coming
with your
up
instrument.
with it.
Instead of like,
because they're a rock band at heart.
Instead of like, as we always said, like how much filler goes into like a recorded track, right? Like how much added, like there's actually 3 guitars on this, and live they have to add it in or something, or like another drum part, whatever. But with Rage, it was like figuring out like how to make it sound like that on stage, and then doing that in the studio. Like no shortcuts with them, really, because like it's a 3-piece band, but the standalone singer, let's just say 4-piece.
It's another
But
one of those just
did they
monstrous
need another-
sounds for like a 3-piece kind of. You know what I mean?
Did they need like a backing track for like guitars for the solo? I don't think so.
No.
Like not on stage.
No.
Like you feel the drop of the
that
guitar
bass
off the
player
rhythm,
fills it in. It's almost like, Sabbath, or you go and you see those bands where it's like
how it should be,
yeah,
kind of,
where like what happens when the guitar drop on the record, there is two guitars going.
Yeah.
But live, Geezer's like hammering that bass, so like the sound of his bass, not only is his playing crazy, but like the sound he's built, it like has this like other dimension to it than just a straight bass tone.
Yeah.
And kind of that whole thing is kind of back to our original, one of our first episodes, the Grand Funk, where it's like, sometimes the guitar will go and do its solo for like 5-minute solo, but you need that bass to like kind of be the rhythm guitar and the bass. You need to be both. So
it needs to be loud and heavy and very presentable, and not always doing the same thing the guitar player is doing.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's going with the drums and those points of the song,
building a rhythm.
Yeah,
and then having guitar and vocals lay on top of that. It's traditional songwriting there. You know what I mean?
If you're jamming, if the guitar player's off doing something, it's like the bass and the drummer lock and they sync and they're in that groove. They're not differentiating so the guitar player can stay there, but they're like, doing like little or little frills or
the rhythm section's always like on the defense, you know what I mean? And the singer and guitar player are always on the offense, like on the attack, you know what I mean? While everything's getting held down like armor, in the back to like build.
You just can't break. The rhythm can never break.
No.
So it's like
and there is the occasion, obviously. There's the drummer that just like goes off, and that's usually like a lot in metal, where the drummer, or like even in jazz, it's always like in jazz the keyboard player and the drummer are fighting, you know what I mean? Like, because they just take their break solos and the bass player just has to like hold it there, and everyone else just has to kind of keep the rhythm going, kind of tap on your instrument, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That was me rubbing on my pants, like trying to play piano and drums at the same time. Like,
well, Rage is an example of like that great rhythm section.
Yeah.
Like they need, they're
talked about all the time, like, where it's just like, oh, listen to that rhythm section, just hold it down, you know what I mean? And a lot of this, like, none of these songs are difficult, but that being said, the difficult part is holding it down and keeping the groove.
Being rhythmic. Like, they're...
and kind of, like, play with it, like, rhythmically. Like, don't always do the same pass on every measure, like, the exact same as the one before, Go with the guitar a little bit, go away from the guitar, it's like mix and matching, and it's just, it feels like funk, Like, funk is that same way.
Well, they're influenced by a lot of stuff. Funk being, part of that.
And again, this was like taking metal and hip hop. That's why he was like, I wanted it to be like, a DJ on my guitar, like the scratching and everything.
And the album we're actually talking about, we'll get into, is their first album, debut album, released on November 3rd, 1992. That is going to be
28 years old. Not a whole
would
number.
That be... Well, I guess, I don't know, was there... because November 2nd is typically election day, so I wonder if there's something about that.
There was 2 Rage albums that are back-to-back on their release, and we had to, like, pick between the 2, and it was self-titled, first one, and then Battle Los Angeles, which... is that the second one?
Battle?
Has to be, right? Has to be. I don't know. I could be so
Evil
wrong.
Empires is number 2.
Okay, because that's 94. And then we take another 2 years in 96 and we get Battle of Los Angeles.
96 is Evil Empire.
Wait, what did you say was 94?
There is no 94, I don't think. Let me see.
Well, it took 4 years? Okay, let's talk about the first time you've heard Rage Against the Machine. Was it Matrix the movie? True or false, Chris?
I'm not sure, actually.
The first time
Battle Los Angeles was 99.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You just think things are a little bit older. And when you start looking at dates and putting
but it's all the
a number behind how old an album is, it really does... It doesn't feel right sometimes.
Like you said, 94, that was when Freedom came out. That is the Matrix song. That's the song that's in the Matrix is Freedom.
Yeah, and that kind of, like, blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like... It's really, we talk about that Tony Hawk thing or other, like Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that in the credits. I remember that song,
where he is finally Neo and he like flies away and then it's fucking Know Your Enemy,
Is it? I thought it was Freedom.
Is it Freedom?
I
feel like
let me look. We'll look.
I had the soundtrack. There was like Rob Zombie was on it, Marilyn Manson. Like, I loved all the songs.
Yeah.
Oh my God, go back and watch like action movies in the 90s or horror movies in the 90s. And it's always like new metal bands or like you'll hear Rammstein or like KFFDM. There's a lot of like industrial depending on the scene, you know?
Yeah.
And I fucking love it. Like, it just reminds me of like being a kid. I kind of love like 90s corniness over the 80s because I love that aesthetic as well, but I feel more like connected with the 90s because I was a kid during that, you know? The Tales from the Crypt, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And Rage was one of those bands like, dude, 101X here in Austin played the hell out of some Rage, dude. Like, all the time. So it wasn't like it was kind of hidden, you know what I mean? Which it should have been in some ways because of how, like, just destructive and what they were talking about is very controversial. But it's like their groove is so good, the songs are so good. People just didn't really listen to the message, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much as the song itself. So it's just like, oh, this song's so awesome, but it's like a very serious subject that he's talking about.
Well, yeah, every song, I mean, probably one of the most, you think of political bands, they're the ones that come to mind.
It's in the name.
Yeah. So
it's almost like System of a Down, kind of like
System of a
took
Down
that persona
definitely,
a little bit,
is
and
the other one.
Political, and with that really long name.
Wake Up. That's the song that's in Matrix. Wake Up.
Okay, so I keep getting like all these, like I could just build like a whole melody. Like we could make a song that is pretty much taking pieces from every song in this album, and they would connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could play the verse from this, the chorus from that, the bridge from whatever, and that's how good it is. Like each song just flows so well, and you don't really listen to one song in this album, do you? You don't listen to the one and be like, "That's all I wanted." You like, fuck, you're getting ready for the next one because you know what the next one is, and you're like, it just keeps. It's just good. Every song is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really doesn't stop. There's like one slow point in it, you know, with that song. Try to grip my family, but I slipped. Resistance mundane. Got another sign.
Let me go back to the.
Got a name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish we had a singer here so we could get that. I wish we had a bass player here so we could talk about that because the guitar obviously is like a really big, like he's been in magazines, interviews. He's so like well known as just his name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the rhythm section is just known for being the great rhythm section. Like people can spot them out of the crowd, but what are the names of those two assholes?
Yeah, so we got Zach De La Rocha on vocals. He also did production and art direction, and then Tom Moreo on guitar, production, art direction, and then Tim Comerford, also known as Timmy C, who does bass, backing vocals, production, art direction as well.
The guy with the tattoos.
Yeah, he's got like black sleeve tattoos.
Yeah.
And then Brad Wilk, who plays drums and percussion, also production and art direction.
That face, man, he has such a steady face when he plays.
The bass player also does like mountain biking. He's like a mountain biking enthusiast.
That makes
like,
sense.
Stuff.
These guys don't seem like they just hang out and drink beers. They seem like they're pretty active people.
Yeah.
Their live performances are just like, you guys like have a trainer like for a couple of months before you go on tour because you guys are going hard in the paint. Like, you're going to injure yourself. Someone's breaking a leg on this tour. Someone's fracturing their fucking neck because they're headbanging way too fucking hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, yes, released November 3rd, 92, making it the 28th?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier.
28th
anniversary.
28th anniversary, almost
2
30.
years, we would make it 30, and then we'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
We'll learn the different 4 songs.
Recorded April through May of 92, so like a month, a little over 2 months-ish.
So we had the demo before this, which had a lot of the songs.
Already, so I just needed to go in there and like bang them out.
And it pretty much all the way sounds the same, just more polished.
A little more polished. Some of the
maybe
things are turned, like changed
the
up a little
approach
bit,
was different from coming to a solo or just like the groove of the drums. I heard that.
And they recorded at Sound City, which has a whole documentary about it.
No wonder this album sounds
Yeah,
good.
so you
like,
can-
it bangs, dude. It fucking slaps. Some would say.
Yeah. So it's got, Legendary Studio. There's a whole documentary about it that Dave Grohl kind of, I think, produced or something.
I do think their other albums are a little bit more polished than this one. This one has a little bit more of a rougher edge, and turning it up all the way, like, on headphones is not as loud as, like, the Battle of Los Angeles or Evil Empire. Something about those albums are just, like,
put out a
break of bass.
remaster, so maybe it has something to do with that.
I was like on the XLL or XXX
the
one.
20th anniversary. So they did a 20th remaster sort of thing for that. That included the demo. And yeah, so Van Nuys, California, it's about 53 minutes, 52, 55 is what it says. Labels Epic. So for your first debut album on Epic, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. We've definitely had to talk about Epic out of the 100 episodes we've done, but
definitely, yeah.
It's just one of those kind of major labels that probably got bought up and it's called something else at this point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if they're still around. But you used to see that all the time, I think. Is Epic like the kid holding up like the eye? It's like a person holding up the eye.
Oh, I can't think of that.
That's what I was thinking. I think they had a lot of 90s bands on there. Just want to swoop in because I was always thinking Faith No More, you know what I mean? Was Epic Records. But then all you can ever think about is like, how was it not on Interscope? You know?
Yeah.
How did they not just swoop in? It was like, whew, just going to take these really unique bands from you and come over here with them.
So let me finish out the production here.
Yeah.
So you had there's two additional people. Maynard on Know Your Enemy, additional vocals, and then Stephen Perkins on Know Your Enemy, and he's been in he was in Jane's Addiction and another band called Hell Ride and Porno for Pyros, basically like Perry Farrell's right hand drummer, basically. So sorry.
The dog bark and that.
And the guitar. So you got those two additionals on Know Your Enemy, which is like, I guess those like,
so cool.
Enemy.
Yeah.
Da-da-dum.
Yeah.
There it is. I got no patience now.
It's so cool. Yeah. It even sounds like a Tool part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
speaking of, dude,
right? So it's like Tool, the Melvins, and Rage Against the Machine are all friends growing up.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tom actually played in a band with Alex Gray from Tool growing up.
Alex Jones,
sorry. I got them two confused. Who's the other one? Adam Gray?
No, I think you're thinking of the guy that does the artwork.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But here, there's this
Look at
little
Show
book
the camera.
I got.
Show the camera.
Let's
get a zoom in on that.
This book here I've had for like probably almost over 10 years, 15 years or something. But it's like a tab
Definitely
book.
15 years. That's how you came over here and present people.
Yeah. Has like all the like, not all the songs, but like basically a chunk from each album, but has like a little biography here that kind of goes into like the start of them and the bands they were in. And
prior to this?
Yeah, it was, he was in, let's see, he played in a high school garage band, Tom did, called Electric Sheep. And it had Adam Jones in it. But then...
Oh, right. I did this research on all the Tool members. I found the connection. Electric Sheep. Try to find the music. Please send me a link. Good luck.
Yeah. And Zach actually had another band, too, in a hardcore group. So that's kind of like where they were called Inside Out. And
okay.
So that's where he got his...
So it all sounds like that. It's like punk, hip-hop, metal.
Yes. So they broke
alternative.
Up. Tim was friends with Zach, and then Brad they found through Tom had put up a musician's ad in a
and he just
newspaper.
Showed up. Just showed up with that fucking haircut, just like, yeah, I'll play drum. No.
Yeah.
Fucking groovy drums.
Yeah, that's
the little biography that it gives you inside there. That's pretty cool. Because you probably got this in like early 2000s, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna see where it should say the publishing somewhere. But it like goes on to talk about that demo and like they basically did their first gig in a friend's living room, which is like how all bands kind of start. You do your first show in a friend's room or whatever, living room.
I guess you can count that as your first gig.
I
would never count it unless there was like I was at a venue, you
Yeah.
know, and then I had to talk to a sound guy, and then I count that as a venue
Yeah.
or a show.
And that was in
But
91.
tomato, tomato, man.
That was in 91. And then 92, they got recorded and released their self-produced 12-song cassette tape. And then that they kind of like got a fan club, a fan, base. And then the tapes got sold over 5,000 copies. So that's how they got the interest of Epic, was this like little burning cassette tape that's on fire.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's really good for not having a label, not having the internet,
Yeah.
not having any of the tools that we have nowadays, and it's just word of mouth, getting that one out there.
Yeah. And they released it in 92, like we said, and it was certified platinum in 2 years.
Maybe it was the Matrix movie.
So yeah, that and just, I think they went on a vicious touring cycle, kind of similar, to bands, just putting out that first and just pumping it out like with music.
Okay, we don't know the full story here when it comes to their relationship with Epic Records, so
yeah,
we don't know like if it was like a lot of heartache on their end, a lot of struggle on Epic just breathing down their neck, But on that side, I'm not trying to speculate, but a lot of those stories that we talk about, or these stories, has to do with like the record label pretty much just pushing it to the side before it even had a chance to sell. They were just like, they just didn't understand because they listened to it and they're like, what the? It's like, what is this?
Not only that,
they're thinking about money. They're not thinking about what could be the next thing sometimes. Not always,
Well, they took a chance on the band because,
they signed it, but it took 2 years. That's a long time. They could have been dead,
Yeah.
And they probably just kept them playing shows, and the shows were probably doing really well.
It was like one of those underground bands, playing college campuses and like just has the youth kind of like this rebellion sort of thing because that's what they are. And I don't know. It just seems like they caught like fire. Like my dad, who's not like, he's kind of just like a real average music listener. He is a Rage fan and saw them early on. You know what I mean? So they captured a wide audience for being so like underground. They kind of like skyrocketed really fast because of their sound being unique, but also kind of like back to what we were talking about. Like everything is solid and just rhythm. Like you don't need to be doing crazy technical shit.
Yeah, and I think it was like Conan O'Brien or some late night show where they really got a good opportunity to play in front of some people, and it was talked about it the next day at the water cooler for sure, where it's just like they were on fire. I remember, I can't quite remember exactly what show it was. I want to say Conan O'Brien, but I've watched that live video so many times. They talk about it in there behind the music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. When's the last time you guys watched that? It's on YouTube. Dude, it was blistering. It was like just insane. You know what I mean? It's on the level of just anyone that would just really seeing it live, you'll understand. Maybe if you're listening to it and you're like, I don't know. And then you see it live and you're like, it makes all the sense in the world, But at this point, it's been almost 30 years. People know who Rage is, Pretty much, pretty well across the board, still to this day.
Controversy nowadays because of like the Ticketgate thing.
Oh,
like the
so we're gonna talk about that.
I mean, it's weird how they're in that when it's like they have nothing to do. Like they can set the they could say something, but it's again we've talked about music and the industry for so long,
but we don't know everything about it. We don't know if their music is still owned by executive producers or like
bands have little say nowadays. Still, some
when it
some
comes
are
to,
fighting the good fight and trying to like.
But Rage has to get a venue that is going to be huge because it will sell out. They can't play any small places. You know what I mean?
So they do these Lollapalooza things, or they do humongous festivals where it's like
that ticket price is already that much.
Exactly. It's already really high, and there's already a lot of other bands that are going to be there.
Can you please tell me when Rage was just on tour? Because I didn't see any dates coming by or got canceled. Was it?
Well, see,
was there?
They never did a tour. They were going to do this one, which had...
and then it just turned out to be the fucking...
It was like a couple shows. It was like 4 shows or something like that.
What is it called? Prophets of Rage. What was supposed to be Rage Against the Machine coming back ended up just being Prophets of Rage,
but and
that's why they did announce.
I mean, there was this Rage reunion recently.
We go back and forth on this.
I mean, it does kind of go back and forth, but more recently they were going to reunite and do like 4 shows or something across the country. I think like Bonnaroo or something was going to be one of them, but they did have like these one-off shows that
makes sense.
Tickets were selling like crazy prices, like scalpers, and also, I mean, I don't know. It's again, the music industry fucks you no matter who you are. And
I mean, because at a certain point when you're that popular, you just kind of, it's hard to have a say-so. And that being said, we talked about Tool where they are like,
well, if you want to play by
our rules. But again, they might own all their own music, and Rage might not own their own music.
That's what I'm getting at.
They were young, they signed contracts that might keep getting repealed or whatever. Like, they'll go to court on it to,
maybe
get back up on another 10 years of owning this album and then state their case why. Whatever.
It's also Tool doesn't do like those. I don't know, like Tool... I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
they became like a studio or like a arena band.
Yeah, maybe that's it because they own their music to play live, whereas like Rage maybe probably doesn't. Who knows what it is? As far as that situation,
I wanted to watch a video that would dive into it more.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be the members. So
and there's another thing when it comes to like they're one of the bands that have the toxic fans that kind of stir your average person away, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if you say you're a Rage Against the Machine's fan, then you kind of like, and I don't know why I put this like stigma or this this idea in other people's heads of what type of person you are, you know what I mean? And I don't know where that comes from. Slipknot gets that shit, Rage Against the Machine, Tool gets that shit, maybe it's just snobby fans. I believe that in all genres of music, you know what I mean? Maybe not psychedelic, because those are the nicest people I've ever met. Yeah. Maybe too nice. I'm like, come on, have some backbone. But punk, metal, there's, oh my God, those fans are just obnoxious, you know what I mean? Because...
Well, you get a lot of Rage fans that are also like, because they're so political, you can get snooty people.
And then if you say you're
intellectual, not even that,
And then it becomes a political, conversation almost. If you're wanting to talk about Rage and how much you like Rage, and what if you don't believe in those things?
Some people don't even like, they kind of fall into that new metal rap sort of thing. So a lot of people pass them over because of that, But unfortunately,
I believe these grooves are that good. Where like when people like get the stink out of their, nose from this genre of new metal or the 90s, give it a little bit more time, let it age a little bit more, and I tell you, like those bands will still stick out.
Yeah.
They will still stick out. You know what I mean? There will be songs and things like it shouldn't be forgotten, and it taught us what music was going to be later on as well. Like someone like Rage really set like set the bar when it comes to that, you know what I mean? And then you got to take it like the next step further. Like what do you have to do? Like at the drive-in, like on a different level, it's just like one step, And we were saying that with metal forever. It's like, if metal sounded like this in 1970s and sounds like this now, what is it going to be 50 years from now? Like, nuts or more or less the same? You know what I mean? But how far can you push it without it not being music? But then again, that's why we are musicians, because you said, like, we're like wizards. It's like in the air, the magic, and we just pull it, and the ideas still come.
In that what I also was saying, it does mean this like trickery thing, but also you're tricking the audience, like, you know what I mean?
I see, like voila, like the rabbit out of the hat.
You're really not the audience, oh my God, they're so like really great. It's like the songs are, it's almost like I would say like maybe like it's equated to maybe like Misfits or something where it's like they're not really the best musicians and they're just making good music, but to the average listener, they don't know that. They don't music is this magic to where like you could see somebody on stage playing and you're like, "Oh, they're the best ever." And you're like, in the grand scheme of all music, they're just like, I don't want to say at the bottom, but in some ways like they're still making the best of what they have, but they're not.
That being said, it's still the what they created, even if it's not like try to write a good song.
Well, you need
that mindset, like please write a song that sells millions. You know what I mean? So
yes, I'm saying that like
but
you could write a song that some simple and people are like awed by it because it's a beautiful piece of music, but that's the magic of it. The veil of like when you really learn the instrument, you're like that's nothing.
But there's also like their order forms, which are not so simple. They are, but again, they're adding the filler. They're adding that.
They really are simple.
1-2 measures here to gap in between the chorus, the verse, the bridge. You know what I mean?
The order form, but like they're like literally doing what everybody else is doing, is taking these like blues things that like some regular scale thing, and they're just like making a song out of that or whatever. I can't think of the riff off the top of my head now, but you know what I'm saying, where it's like they're taking those pieces and basically creating something that sounds really unique, but it is like this blues.
Yeah, it was right there on the nose the entire time.
Pentatonic scale or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like right there.
And you know this, and that's why I always think like you're so much better at your instrument than I am at mine, because trying to explain like the grooves that he does.
He does cool stuff. I couldn't
tell you. It's like I said, it's just he's on top of it. It feels like how funk works.
Let's
like
do
where
the
it's
bridge.
just a little bit higher, and he just nails those parts with it. Nothing too not a lot of trickery, but that being said, there's crazy hi-hat work. There's the crazy tom fills on, Know Your Enemy when Maynard comes in. So it's like he can do pretty much whatever he wants.
Let's do the bridge part on Bomb Track.
All right. Remind me how this goes.
Because I want to highlight that part because of what the drums and guitar do. Like you're saying, they sync up on that part.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, all right.
Ready? See, and then that's you can get confused with the song when you're trying to learn it, because it's like the end sounds like the beginning, the middle sounds like the beginning. If you just stopped it and timed it out a little bit different,
On the doesn't he do a snare?
I was thinking that too, and it's really like I don't feel like there's any real like we have the song structure.
No, yeah.
And that's really all it comes down to, because I've heard it live a little bit different. But that being said, we're just following the groove, and this drum beat was just to follow the groove.
One of the things he would do is like those little drum fills.
I can kind of show you,
All right, be like a guitar fill, but they're matching up. They're like,
So like my representation of it, because definitely he can do a lot slicker than me, but it would be like, you want to play it again, and I'll try to like add a little bit more flair.
Yeah.
Ready? know,
Yeah.
you can go like,
No.
absolutely nuts
That's what
with
that drummer.
You know what I mean?
That's what I like about Brad, because that's what, like, maybe in the studio it was like straightforward, but when you listen to the live stuff or whatever,
It gets
he does those
cool. Yeah.
and like he'll maybe do like a little accent on the record, that ticka ticka or whatever. He'll do a drum thing,
yeah.
but live
Something
he'll
like-
take that and
Sorry,
like
folks.
expand it out, like kind of what you're doing, like
Yeah.
you know,
Just like that whole like get off the hi-hat and just be like, you know,
Yeah.
something like real quick. It's a fill, and you just kind of like, when it comes to fills, you don't really if you're a drummer, you might know this, you might not know this, but when it comes to drum fills, it's very important to not think about the drum fill, and just play it. Like, you know your timing, you know how much time you have before you have to get off of it. So add it in whenever, you know. With Mastodon, he'll add it in whenever he wants, because he knows I have this amount of time before I even get to the next part of the song. And that's the only thing that matters. So make it fun, switch it up, use a hi-hat, snare, you know, cymbal. He really goes like all over the place. It's really groovy.
I think he has like one of those crazy splash china, or not splashes, but those inverted china things. What are those?
Yeah, so
I think he has one of those.
So it's like a splash, but like smaller, inverted. He could have one of those.
I don't know if it's a splash. He has a big one, kind of like what you had.
So it's just a china.
The big china.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just, you get that like, you know?
Yeah. And
that's really, like, you can hear that all the time. I was really thinking about like adding more cymbals when it came to this particular episode.
But add pedals, bro.
The problem is over here, it's like, to get this fucking
You'd have to
china,
yeah,
I would have to rearrange, you know? And I love the sound of a china. Mine is just too big. Like, if you want to know something about my equipment right now, I'm using AAX pretty much across the board for my cymbals, Sabians. And besides 4, the Meinl Ride cymbal, 22-inch dark, actually 20-inch, it's fine. But the AAX thin crash, explosion crash, it sounds like what Rage was using, you know? I know they were using something very crisp, and it's not piercing, but it's more like a part of it, you know? Like his crash cymbals sound like a part of it, and they're not lowered in the mix. I don't feel like. What do you think?
I think
live,
listening to it in the car and stuff, like I feel like the drum sound is really tight. The bass on the bass end, there's like nothing but kick on the bass. Like when I'm feeling a thump in the car, it's the kick. The kick is like really like pounding, almost like the bass guitar is kind of like dialed back a little bit and letting the kick drum like really like punch.
Kind of sounds like a guitar a little bit, the bass, and that's why I was like, we might not do this justice, because there's so many good bass lines on this, dude. So many good bass lines. I'm
going to finish the technical here. We had some people listed that we've talked about before. Craig Dubé, assistant engineer. Stan Katayama, engineer. Nikki Lindemann, art direction. Garth Richardson, production engineering. He's the actual one of the producers, too. He's done Alice Cooper, The Guess Who, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Motley Crue, Mudvayne, The Melvins. So he's done a bunch of stuff. He's worked with like everybody
across the board.
Yeah. Jeff Sheehan, assistant engineer. Steve Sisko, mixing assistant, and then Andy Wallace. Good old Andy Wallace.
Let's talk about him again.
Doing some mixing.
One of the 5 legendary engineers.
And then guess who else we got? Bob Ludwig doing the mastering.
Oh, no way.
So these two coming up all the time.
Why don't you go through his profile and list off every single. It would take an hour, 2 hours to do that.
Quite literally, almost over 3,000 credits.
Bring up his dossier.
And then Andy Wallace as well. You know, he's been doing production since 1986. He did Walk This Way with Rick Rubin, and then since then, just like killed it. I mean, the who's who of who's who. You know, and then ending it with Steve Hoffman, who did the mastering for the 2016 version. So, what am I trying to say?
The 20th anniversary of this album?
Is it 20?
Would you get the demo? So,
would it be the 20th, or would it be, because that's 90? This was 92, so it wouldn't be the 20th. It'd be like the
What year?
Weird. It's like a weird.
What year did you say?
He did it in 2016.
2016. 25.
25? Maybe.
I'm going with my gut.
If it was 92.
8, 16.
I don't know. It's our
20, 24.
We're bad at years and
24
math.
years.
It's like, yeah.
It's 24. We're bad at math. I should be
Years.
good at it over here trying to calculate time. And
So yeah, that's basically everybody as far as like the technical. But they did thank Ian and Alec McKay in the booklet in the liner notes.
What? Where were they? They just influenced them?
Yeah, probably just some influence stuff. But
Love.
speaking of the liner notes, that album artwork is like controversial but iconic. You know what I mean? It's a real life picture of a monk setting himself on fire
In protest during, I don't want to, I'm going to fuck up
protesting
the history
the president of Vietnamese president, his administration for oppressing the Buddhist religion. And then, so the photo was like taken, was seen around the world. You know, John F. Kennedy talked about it. All these people around the, international news talked about it, and it kind of blew up the topic.
I don't know if we're doing this like because it's in the back of our heads, but it's an election year, and
we picked voting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or everyone's voting. I already voted. But.
Exactly. But tomorrow. We talked about Nail Bomb, where it has a lot to do with this as well. And I don't know if we didn't do this on purpose entirely, but I think somewhere in our psyche, in the back of our head, we kind of like pick these albums. We love it, but ever since, this whole pandemic, this whole 4 years, all of it actually, let's say my whole 33 years of being alive, I've been so oppressed by the government. No, I don't know. But it stands by the point. It's one of those things I think of, like when you listen to a Rage song, you're like, yeah, dude, fight the power. It's like all that feeling and emotion of just, someone having their foot on your back, you're under their thumb. It's just like rich people, the corporations, all that fucking bullshit that we can get into all day and night. We're not a political podcast, but it does. Again, it's like the dead Kennedys or any of that stuff. It's sad when it's still true to this day.
Yeah.
How many years? 28 years. And all these songs are relevant today.
Yeah.
Again. And I think when you look at just things like that, you got to be like, oh, man, that's something kind of wrong. That's not a lot of time, I guess, in the concept of the universe, but
I think that's
people's
why we
lives
need Rage.
Are affected,
Well, it sucks. I mean, I think they would have been probably having a bigger
man,
output
just
right
fucking-
now if
Yeah.
there was no pandemic. But
Just show up on top of a government building, just like dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun dun.
I mean, they actually did they crashed I think it was one of the conventions. I think the
Yeah, they
RNC.
did that with the director from Bowling for Columbine, from
Yeah, and then
that
you should
political
go watch
director.
that.
God, I can't remember
They have
his
some
name.
of the best live stuff. You can go and watch like some of their early performances on college campuses where they're really, they're just as great then, and then you can go watch that stuff where they're
That's what I'm
crashing
saying, dude.
the
They're like hard in the paint,
conventions.
jumping up in the air as high as
Yeah.
possible, just like
They're very consistent live. They always put on a great show. It's always energetic. It's and I think it's part to the music and just the message where he's telling you, if he's telling you, fight the power, fuck you,
Yeah.
or if, freedom, yelling freedom. He's like screaming freedom screaming at the top of his lungs. It's like you're gonna be like, yes. Yeah.
running on the walls. I keep thinking of that now. Damn, we should have picked that song.
Back to the we were talking about the tour. They did extensive touring they toured for basically like 2 years straight, from January of 92 all the way to December of 93.
You got to do.
So
Yeah.
they
Throw them in the fire.
typically their typical set list consisted of People of the Sun, Bomb Track, Fistful of Steel, Wake Up, Settle for Nothing, Bullet in the Head, Killing in the Name, and Freedom.
You can play this whole fucking album if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, but 45 minutes, being an opening band, you don't get that type of time. If you're opening, you know, festival, you probably got that time.
That's crazy. People of the Sun was being played because that wasn't, I think, until Evil Empire. People of the Sun.
Had a lot of these songs probably like, you know, ready to go.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like it takes a lot of. He's a genius for writing these songs, like, but it flows out of him and it comes natural to him, and that's why it happens quickly. You know what I mean?
So yeah,
can we put a pause on this? Put a little "be right back" because I'm over here shaking a leg. I should have beat her.
Oh yeah.
I should have beat her.
I will be
sorry.
right back.
Right back.
Right back.
Dun-dun-ch. Ooh, gotta grab that symbol in the future.
Yeah, I stopped a little too early too. See, it's a growing thing. We're still.
Yeah, we're trying to play little bits of the song so we don't get flagged. Please keep it a secret.
Yeah. We're trying our best here.
I mean, tell your friends about the podcast, but don't.
Trying our best to not get flagged and all that.
No matter what, when we grow, if it does grow, we're gonna get ringed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean,
we'll go to Spotify.
Maybe we'll just do like.
Maybe we'll just sell
one pass. I'll get it to it's just like one note. Ding.
One measure. You remember this note? Ding.
Yeah.
Remember that? Does that trigger anything?
Yeah. So we were talking about the tour. But
2-year tour.
We'll talk about the critical reception because the album blew up as far as critically. It was
they loved it. The critics.
It was well received, very well received. Basically, Metacritic, who like does like is an aggregate site, so they take basically all the scores and make like a summary of like all of them. So it's not like a for sure this is one person. You know, Metacritic isn't like one person. It's a collection of others.
Yeah, so it's calculated.
Yeah.
Using data.
Yeah.
And
it's like a best
algorithms and computer things.
So it's an 87 out of 100 on Metacritic. So that kind of shows that everybody believed it was pretty good for the time. You have
there was nothing like it. You know what I mean? Even if you want to like kind of sounds like Korn. No. Fuck no.
Yeah.
LA Times, I guess. No.
Los Angeles Times gave it a 3.5 out of 4. Pitchfork 9.1 out of 10. Rolling Stone 4.5 out of 5. All Music gave it a 4.5 out of 5. The Encyclopedia of Popular Music 4 out of 5. Mojo 4 out of 5. So
holy shit.
It's
Pitchfork?
Yeah, Pitchfork 9.1 out of 10. So you please Pitchfork them some pretentious bastards.
So is there anything to say about like time when it comes to these scores? Like say this was done when it came out. This was done 2 years later in 94 when it became whatever. And nowadays, do you think people still say that?
Well,
I don't know.
That's funny. In 2001, it was Q named Rage as one of the 50th heaviest albums, the album of all time. It's also in the 1001 albums you have to hear before you die. And then in 2012, it was ranked at 365 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time. And then on number 24 on the magazine's 100 greatest metal albums of all time.
Like across the board, I agree with all those. Like, put it on more. Put it on more. You know what I mean?
BBC radio host Zane Lau named the album as one of 4 masterpieces and his favorite, I guess, of theirs. And they also ranked, in 2011, they ranked number 5 on Guitar World's magazine of top 10 list of guitar albums. So
he's super iconic.
He's a riff master, and we kind
yeah.
of been playing these riffs, and they're just like,
And
again, how simple they are, but catchy.
And what do you get? 3 albums?
3 original albums, 1 cover album,
and then
2 live albums ish.
Still, just taking those 3 albums, still known for being like awesome guitar player.
Yeah,
and then you don't even have to talk about any of his other stuff, but add that other stuff on top of it, and it's like
he's got the Night Watchman, which
so many
is his
things.
solo
He never
acoustic,
stops. You know what I mean?
Prophets of Rage, like we talked about. On top of
obviously
just the
Audio
Slave, which is like basically the whole band.
Yeah,
besides Zach De La
it was
Rocha.
weird. I was like so excited. I was like,
but
no
even
way.
then,
it was not what I wanted.
To touch on them for a sec, it's the same band, and it's crazy that they were able to change their sound so dramatically, but still be the band. You know what I mean? They still sounded like them, but were different.
Yeah.
So it's.
But they figured out what the Rage sound was, and then there's the he knows what rock and roll is. He's influenced by classic rock. He's influenced by hip hop, punk rock, and heavy metal. So he knows exactly what he needs to do when it comes down to being your hard rock guitar player. At the end of the day, you know, you can make that switch, and the band was already there because rhythm is kind of more or less always the same when it comes to lots of genres. They share it. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Just like we were saying, no matter what point in time you listen to it, it still holds up. It's still critically acclaimed, commercially acclaimed. You know,
across the board. How can you?
Across the board, yeah. It did, like we said, get like a deluxe box set sort of thing, and it has there's like 3 different versions. So I mean, if you're going out to purchase, be careful. I mean, just not be careful, but be mindful of which one you're buying and which one you want to get, because there's 3 different there's a deluxe box set, a special edition, and then the regular. Regular disc.
Yeah, maybe just the regular disc. It's great if you're like the mega fan. You
get just 2 CDs, 2 DVDs, a vinyl LP, and a 40-page booklet, and then a 2-sided poster.
And that was shit like 10 years ago. No one gives a fuck about any box sets anymore. The fuck are you buying a box set at Amazon? Ordering it off the website.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason to own, probably the special edition regular ones, because you get the demo. You get the original demo on CD.
Which, again, sounds more or less the same. It's just production.
It's for reference.
Yeah,
production's not there. And you could visually or auditory reference to like different solos. You know, he does different stuff in the solos.
Took a different, yeah. And that's great, because I think that's what made this album sound so good, was pretty much pre-recording it, making all the mistakes that you ever want.
They trimmed some of the fat with like the solos.
And then be like having a time, like just, it's very important for people that don't know this, that maybe aren't musicians, but, to record and listen to yourself, it changes the way you approach it the next time around.
Yeah.
So it really sucks if you recorded something that you really want to lock down, you listen to it and you're like, fuck, I should have done this. You should have pre-recorded to really figure it out before you just took that one. And that's how a great album's made. You got to it's a bunch of playing it, listening to it, and taking the time with it,
Mm-hmm.
and patience. But they nailed it out this fast because I think of the demo and just, knowing exactly what they wanted to do the next time. Plus, you got Rick Rubin. So,
it wasn't Rick Rubin. I thought it was.
No, I didn't think it was Rick Rubin either. Yeah. And then you said that, I was like, well,
I think I was confusing that with the Sound City thing, with it just being
right.
Iconic.
You just went over the whole list of producers, and I was like, wait, you didn't talk about
I thought
Andy
it was,
Wallace
but
was
I think
there,
didn't he do
Andy Wallace is there
Battle?
when Rick Rubin's there too. So
did Rick Rubin do Battle? I thought he did some sort of Rage. I thought was in his list of bands that
I think Andy Wallace is just close to Rick Rubin, and they kind of work hand in hand. So
I'm gonna look.
He could have just been in there for a hot second.
For sure.
He definitely Rick Rubin's responsible for System of a Down.
That is
yeah.
I
think because of the lack of Rage, System of a Down was able to uphold a mantle of sorts.
No Rick Rubin for Rage, sadly.
I think he was probably there. I remember the one they were recording. I didn't help on it. I was just there.
I was there in the studio, or in
of course, Andy Wallace. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
So do you just want to play a bunch of songs now?
Well, we can end
Because
or
we
point
still,
out some things in some of the songs, you know.
Yeah, because we still have like some songs that we wanted to talk about. Maybe next time we'll play a little bit more music than
Yeah.
the talky talk, you know.
What,
But we're still trying to get a feel for this, and just we don't really plan a lot of this out, people. Like we know the songs. We've been listening to them our whole lives. We've played these songs before years ago, but you know, we didn't practice all week for this. You know what I mean?
Do you want to do
Because again, we'll probably get flagged if we played too much.
if we played too much, probably like the whole song. But that's why we play these snippets, little pieces to give you a taste. Yeah, we could do Know Your Enemy. Oh wow. So
Sorry, I
how
had
does
a
that
burp
one? Let's see.
Know Your Enemy?
Yeah.
Okay,
yep.
I think I got us confused twice now when I was like, oh, this is the next part of the song. And you were like, that's a different song. I was like, fuck.
Yep. All right, let's do it. This is a Know Your Enemy, and so this will be the main.
I'll apologize in advance because this drum lick, he's just a good drummer. He's well trained, you know, throughout the board when it comes to knowing how to play drums, exactly what a drummer needs to do. And I am not as awesome as him, but there's a little 3 count at the end of each measure, and he really makes it sick, and I can't make it as sick. So I might have just jinxed myself right now, but please bear with me and apologies in advance. We'll go dun dun dun, end it.
Yeah. I think I played that a little wrong, but
I might have played that a little bit wrong too. He doesn't really add a lot of flair when it comes to the bass drum. It's really direct. It's just, and then like 4 at the end of the measure. So it's just like slap, 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 da 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 da. You know, or just one more slap before that. But whatever. But it's very straightforward. It's a lot of it. You know, I was surprised learning Cannibal Corpse songs where there's a lot of that too, where it's just like single bass notes in each measure. You know.
This song, not that riff in particular, but the next riff that comes up, the what would it be, the verse, that part, that is another clear example of like him doing basically like a scale, because that
Can you do the whoop whoop thing?
Whoop whoop. No, you think you need a whammy,
Oh, yeah,
like an actual bar.
Yeah,
I don't know about the pedal. But what was? Oh yeah, so it does follow like this blues scale that. But he's slowing it down. That he's like adding like a nice little funk to it, but it basically is just a scale rundown.
Sounds like a Sabbath fucking riff.
It's
It feels you know just like chunky and straightforward. You know?
Yeah. And then right back into that, which is like some like punky kind of, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like it's. I'm ignorant when it comes to guitar, but it sounds like he's like fucking up strumming.
Yeah, it is like going on the up, but it's also switching to, like, he does a really good job guitar playing wise, like keeping that. His single notes are really thick when it's like when he's doing those runs. But then whenever he kicks into like the choruses, he starts playing power chords and it gets real chunky, even chunkier. So he's really mindful as a guitar player to like alternate back and forth within the song. Like the verse is going to be single notes, and then my choruses are going to be, because that needs the power. So it's like thinking like that.
Right, and we've been saying this every episode now. It's like 1 or 2 riffs, maybe just one riff stretched out in 3.5 minutes. Come up with different like alterations of playing it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's why I get so confused with all these songs because I'm like, again, the beginning sounds like the end, the breakdown sounds like the intro, you know, it's like just taking the approach of rock and roll, you know?
Yeah.
When it comes to that scale, it's like, straight out in front of you, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You just inherently, no matter if you're a musician or not, you feel it, and you know what's coming next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's even numbers. They're not, you know, doing 9s and 6s over here.
Yeah.
6 and 8s.
Another one we were touching on was Fistful of Steel, or was there anything else in Know Your Enemy that you...
Can you play that breakdown on guitar? Because
What was the breakdown?
On drums. Da-da-dun, dun-da-dun.
Yeah.
It's the Maynard part. Reference your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy for
like
you
that.
because
Yeah.
mine's like I was like, there probably is 2 drums in the studio, but I saw how someone could play it live.
Yeah, there's like some weird tom
and you
shit
just had to have
happens.
another tom right here, so you can just go like a lot of hi-hat work, you know, snap on the snare on every
the tom,
4,
yeah.
and then
Your
you're just
tom's right
adding
there.
and it's just very like, again, classic rudiments. That's what you would call it on drums. You know what I mean? Like he's using a rudiment that all drummers had to learn when they were young, or like, you know, growing up and you're in like classic, like if you're in band in school, this is what you learn, you know?
Yeah.
That's not rock and roll class, and that's not learning the trap set either. That's just learning how to play just the fucking hi-hat or just the snare, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just learning different patterns and being very clever with that. And I even myself don't even think sometimes like how those patterns and learning those things could really change the way you approach like a fill, a breakdown, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Learning your rudiments. But that also being said, there's a lot of drummers that didn't learn any of that shit and they fucking blow people away. You know, it's about being comfortable and allowing. That's what I said over here. I'm not going to show you exactly how he plays it because I'm not him. And that's not how drums really kind of work anyways. Because the studio run won't sound like the live run. So I can't really nail it out the ballpark unless it's like we're doing like that fucking Steely Dan song or something like that. You know, I have to do like that amazing like opening drum tracks where, you know, it's like super iconic. But most drum tracks are not iconic.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And, fuck, I wish I could play that breakdown for you guys. I wish we could play the whole song because I love it. I thought we could always. I was like, Chris, we could pretty much have a Rage Against the Machine like cover band. Well, all you got to do is find someone that could do the vocals.
The vocals and the bass, really. But I mean, the bass, like we were saying, it's not
good
like
bass player can get it. Yeah,
yeah, it's not
but
crazy, but
it might take a unique person to get the vocals.
Yeah,
You know
definitely.
what I mean?
To that Know Your Enemy song, or not Know Your Enemy, Fistful of Steel. That's the one where it kind of gets a little more, I don't want to say avant-garde, but like really kind of drum and bass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That beat, boom, boo, boom, boo, 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 boo.
Yeah,
And then-
there's a whole groove
yeah.
there, and then you have to do that guitar part.
Then the guitar
which
part is
yeah,
doing some weird, wacky
during the verse.
It's doing some like weird whammy up and down thing, and
Let's see if we can play it together because I don't know if I can hold down the drums without that bass. You know what I mean? I have to really think about the lyrics and the rhythm and stay on top of it. So let's try. Gotta go now.
I don't know exactly how, I have to listen to it, but
It's something like that. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. We are trying our best.
I mean, on your end, it's a lot harder than mine.
I know.
But you can see, like, when I'm learning these songs on drums, he is really on the money with those beats. Like, he is not behind the beat.
No,
He's
yeah.
not ahead of the beat. He is on top of the beat, and it shows with every snare slap, every bass, like every kick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's perfect. Like he's so steady. It's like he's a robot back there because it really just
It has to.
a lot of space
to.
too. There's a lot of space in between those notes. Sometimes.
And that's like a prime example where Zach. It's drum and bass. Zach's doing the rapping part on top. The guitar is basically. That's why they put no electronics were used, because you're like, what is this? It's a very abstract guitar part. He's hitting one note and using the whammy. It's very just effects heavy. It's like it's like the Edge. The Edge will go on stage and like strum one thing, but it sounds like a magical unicorn just came out of the sky because he has like 1,000 delays on.
And of course, like he's Tom is looking up to guitar players like that his whole life, like growing up, and was like
the Edge, like that,
and like what you can do with a single chord, that shows how good of a musician you are. You know what I mean? With a single, like, one measure on drums, and all you can use is the hi-hat, snare, and kick. A legendary drummer would just kill it. You'd be like, damn, that sounds good. And then any Joe Schmo wouldn't even get it with a 35-piece drum set. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then there's... here, let me finish this. There's the hardcore part that kind of starts it, the more heavy.
That part?
No,
I'm thinking of Awake again, aren't I? I didn't move my mic, so I was like locked in here, and I had to.
Nice.
I was like, I'm not gonna hit it. That's discipline. That's how that guy plays drums. Like you could put an obstacle course in front of him, and he's gonna nail his parts.
So yeah, that's just an example of like Tom doing some like weird guitar stuff. That's typically, it's not out of the normal. Like they're just like these. Van Halen does that type shit.
Yeah.
But there's these pinch harmonics.
I think it's solos is really where people are just like, what the fuck is he doing during that solo? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the solo, and then there's also the solos like that flurry of like.
Yeah. Isn't it the.
No.
Nah, fuck, Sam.
Yeah.
But every piece
of
these songs are so good. All right.
Yeah, but no, this one has the like a frenzy guitar fill, but remember it also has that build up, the bridge build up, the
right, yeah.
Yeah, if my the suicide and you will push the button, whatever. But that would be an example of their bridges of how they like. They build them up really nicely and then bring them back down, because they do that. So they went from soft to high and then went back to soft.
And then they go back and forth with it. And if I wrote it down, I could just like see and be like, got it, like what pattern they're going for. But it's so groovy, you could just do that shit all day. You could pull that out for like a good 3 minutes, like back in the 70s, just like.
And that's such that's a great riff.
Way too long.
It's a great
riff. Why wouldn't you want to stop playing it? And I that's probably the foundation of where that song came from. You know what I mean? Across the board.
But
fuck, that song's a little weird, and that was the one you picked. But I love that. But there is a lot of bass and drums.
Because
there's a lot of breathing.
An example of like how their writing can be really sparse, but they're painting a picture. They're not. It's not like the song needs to have guitar there, right? Or like
we're going for what sounds good.
Exactly. And I mean, it's not like Tom needs to sit out either. Like sit out that whole part. It's like. He can add something that's just as like weird in that wee or whatever part that fits, that doesn't distract. It like just adds to it.
Yeah.
you know. I think that's something that
he knows how to add flavor to it. You know, it's like
not
a great
to distract
cook.
Yeah.
If you use another fucking example, another fucking. We got a couple more songs we could play, and then we can wrap this up.
I don't know anymore. Do you know?
Well, we haven't done Killing in the Name of.
We did the.
Did we?
Yeah, that's what we came back from our break with. But
I guess that was the end.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could just. I wish we could just shut up.
I
could
probably look up something really quick. Is there another song you wanted to? We can fill some time while I look it up and learn it in 2 seconds.
Wake up.
Wake up. Okay. So, is there any MVPs for you or anything on this album, or people that stand out?
Everything just kills. Like, I don't know. Nothing stands out more than another. The bass is just as good as the guitar. The drums are just as good as the vocals. Everything feels even. No one even feels louder than one of another. I think if it came to VIP, it might just be Zach De La Rocha. Like, his approach to the vocal style is like,
yeah.
He might as well be like a UFC fighter. You know, he comes in aggressive.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
I would be so curious on how like the producer or the engineer like went on to try to like get him hyped to get like take a pass at one of these tracks, and what he needed to do to hype himself up to get there. Or does he just is he like Dynamite and like with a short fuse and it's just like immediately they're like go and he's like boom. I don't know. Everyone's different. I've been very curious about these things because people's approach to how they sing on stage is different from how they record, and that's not different from how a drummer would play the drum track in the studio and how they would play it live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no difference. You know, we want to go clean, straightforward in the studio, but on stage we want to destroy our drum sets, our bodies, our throat, like, and just go hard and like I don't feel good after a show unless I'm like insanely exhausted, like where I could barely hold my head up because I'm just like worn out, you know?
Yeah.
I want to put everything into it, you know? And Rage kind of showed me that, you know, when I was younger. It's
they
like,
really,
damn, you really just go hard,
yeah.
You know? And it gets me.
Zach is like,
I think this is what it is.
Everywhere,
when you listen to this music, like people want to fight,
yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of bros come in. You know what I mean? It's like you just want to lift weights or like jog or exercise, you know, and you might get that macho attitude because of just how like aggressive the music is. You know what I mean? It comes off so aggressive, but I love that part of it, and I could see why they wouldn't want to do Rage anymore because you're older now. You know, I'm sure you're still pissed, but there's. I guess, fuck what I was going to say. Keep it hard no matter how old you get. Keep it hard. Like, stay steady. You know what I mean? You shouldn't. I never understood why, like, bands would get softer over time. I get the idea to sell more, but not the idea of, like, on stage. You know, Slayer retired for that fucking reason. They were like, we are like 50 whatever, we're gonna break our necks from headbanging. You know, we can't do this anymore. So that was the decision they made.
So I got Wake Up. What part or in particular are you wanting to?
What do you know that?
I know the whole thing.
You know that beginning part?
Yeah. That
guitar part is so cool.
So he's doing some weird shit. He's doing the.
Now play that where he screams, "Wake up."
The main part?
Is that still? So
that
good.
part, yeah.
So good.
And then even the next part,
Those
that part is like so hip hop, but somehow he's figured out a guitar lick that fits that.
like he's
Yeah, I fucked it up a little bit there, but
the drums are very
really
like
learned
it's
it, so.
like drums are very hip hop.
No,
too,
yeah,
you
it's
know what I
very
mean?
hip hop,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. He's found a guitar part that sounds so like it's
so funky.
It's so funky, yeah,
Yeah.
so funky. That's a great. Oh, sorry, that's a great song too. And that's such another one of those like he's doing such so weird stuff on that main riff. You know the. Weird in the sense
So
of it's
iconic,
like it's
yeah.
iconic and it's all in this one pocket, but he's just a riff master, so he's like able to like I'm gonna go this way, then I'm gonna dart this way, and then zigzag. Like he zigs and zags the right ways in between riffs, and it's great.
Oh, it really does. It's they could play it in so many different ways. The band is so connected to each other. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, I think the reason why we're able to play these songs, maybe not the best right now, but in the past, you
Yeah,
know, because
I
we were
mean-
like, all it really is about being comfortable
Maybe
with the
we'll-
other musician, and then you can pick and choose what you want to do. You know what I mean? We'll do
Yeah.
it one way, this way, and then the second measure, we'll add a little bit of flair, and then original, add a little flair, and then you go down for the vocals. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's
Done.
maybe we'll start putting up a like PSA, like, hey, we just learned these songs in like 2 hours, like before we started recording.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it just goes to show like not necessarily how complex they are in like a technical form, but like how groovy they are.
Yeah.
Even us just picking them up off, we know the songs because we've listened to them 1,000 times, but just quickly picking
yeah.
up the riffs and stuff, we can jump into the grooves. We know when to stop. We know when they're gonna.
I felt intimidated, like listening to something like Know Your Enemy, because that drum look, like I said, I was like, whoa, like he does it really cool, and it's like something I've never done before. But when I took the approach of like, okay, don't worry about it, just play straightforward. And every time I took that approach, it sounded more like the track than me trying to take my own approach to it, where it's like, set yourself back. You know what I mean? It really is just these things. Just get the little gaps in between, and you can nail it out the ballpark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it's like for a lot of these albums that we are going to cover, unless we go into something like Pig Destroyer or fucking Cannibal Corpse or Cattle Decapitation, where I'm going to start worrying,
Yeah, maybe that's something we just, when we pick the songs, we go in and we kind of find the ones that we.
And maybe it makes us better musicians.
Yeah, too.
This whole podcast has only added like to our knowledge as being a musician, and really just being like, huh, that's what it was. That's how we came up with it. That's how they recorded that. Well, shit, that's been the story for the past 100
Yes.
bands we were talking about. So just knowing these things, it really does help you just like get away from being in your head and thinking like, yes, these people are legendaries, but if you have it inside you, you'll be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll surprise yourself, So
Definitely. I mean, that's why Rage, I think, is also one of those bands that, it's kind of like, it's a good band for you to learn. Like,
I believe so too.
Like-
you're a beginning guitar player. This
Yeah,
is gonna be. You can show your friends and they'll be like, "Damn, it does sound like that." You know what I mean?
Or like
you want to nail it.
because again, it's like, it's the tricks. Once you learn how to make the one thing disappear, then you can start making a lot of other things disappear, and you
Yeah.
start impressing people. So it's like, once you learn how to work this thing and then learn it in one song, then it clicks over and you're like, oh, now
That's
I can.
what he was doing for
all
each of the
these-
songs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it gets into the rhythm, and now you know. And that's just kind of the tools of the trade, the tricks of the trade. Whatever
Don't
you want.
overthink
Yeah.
it. It
Yeah,
is as simple as you think. And if it's not, there is a video on it online because it's not that easy.
Yeah, we live in that
Yeah. Other than
sort
that,
of in
yeah,
society
you're like,
now
"Ah."
where if you don't know anything or want to know something, you can go on.
I feel like I could, in the past year, I felt like my levels of drumming have gone up exponentially because of just learning things like cover songs that I thought that were out of my range, or just learning things on drums, height, being
Sometimes you
comfortable,
need someone to just tell
how
you
to
and
hold the
talk to you,
sticks.
not
Yeah,
just read how to do it. You
exactly.
need
Yeah.
somebody to like, even though if it's not in person, something that's just a little bit more explanate. Like,
But there's something that just like I heard
yeah,
and it made sense and it changed everything for me.
yes.
And now I can play almost anything I want, like an At the Drive-In song where I was like, I can't fucking get this. And now I'm like, I'm surprising myself. You know what I mean?
I mean, a lot of guitar riffs. If you have trouble with guitar riffs, going and watching somebody like break it down, it helps so much watching somebody play it because a lot of like,
my God. Yeah.
a lot of it is just like
Shining a light on it.
seeing what their hand is doing at this part.
And you're like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
what it was,
Yeah.
And same thing with these drum parts. Like, I don't know what they're hitting on the cymbals, but I see someone do that, like the combination,
Yeah.
combination. And I'm like, fuck, that's what it was. And I've gotten myself pretty close to like playing like Slipknot songs because of that, but that just goes to an endurance level,
Yeah,
really. I need to work on my fucking like single stroke rolls at a 200 BPMs per, a second or whatever the fuck, how you say it. Because they're blistering fast single stroke rolls, and good God. Doubles have been easier. Do you want to end it here? Go out on the...
Yeah, which
It sounds like Led Zeppelin. Does it remind you of Led Zeppelin? When I said that?
Yeah.
Like Cashmere in some ways?
It kind of does. Yeah, it's got just that like weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like dissonant guitar sound kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, and he's just flying away, and like, he is the one.
Yeah.
All right, follow us on all the platforms. Well, really just three I care about. YouTube at BANGover Productions, Spotify at BANGover Productions, and then follow us on Instagram at BANGover Productions. We probably should have shortened that, but yeah.
We also have a Twitch out there that we do live stuff sometimes. Eventually, we'll get this show to be live. The show will be a live
Just
show.
coming off our Halloween palooza, and
we'll build up the infrastructure here to facilitate live. Maybe the next one we do will be live. I don't know. So
yeah, we'll try.
Yeah, we'll try.
Try new things. All right, just keep on going with it.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Let's just keep on playing it, and then you can edit whatever the fuck you want out. Again, I'm Scott Allen. This is Chris Myers. Tell your friends, tell your family about our podcast if they're music fiends like us, if you're a music addict. And please don't tell anyone in the music industry about what we're doing. Other than that, tell everyone.
Tell all your friends.
If you have an uncle that's a record producer, lawyer, don't say shit.
Yeah.
And if you have a lawyer and he
hook him up with us.
If he knows music law, send him over.
I'm an expert in bird law, but not music law.
Bird law is short for music law.